Welcome to a thing, which I'm going to see if it works or not. It's a pilot edition. I mean, you've seen the titles. It's called the Programme, where we look at an old Rugby League programme. And what have we got here? The 22nd of May, 1983, Hull Kingston Rovers versus Cardiff City. An invitation challenge match played at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest Football Club presents Rugby League football. Pre-match, Hunslet Boys Club versus Hunslet Parkside under 13s, which of course are now just the same club. Here's Ken Smales, the secretary of Nottingham Forest. Being born as I was, just 2 miles from Headingley, I suppose it was natural that my father, having perceived my interest in sport, should take me along to that famous arena to see how the big boys did it. It must have been apparent at that early age, and I had sporting ambitions, and he was keen to encourage me. I was fascinated watching the professionals perform. Professionals in inverted commas. Whether it was in a League at Leeds cricket match, a county match, or a test match, they were all professionals in my young eyes. And what was the difference anyway? That's true. My memories of Don Bradman scoring over 300 runs are rather vague, as are those of Harold Larwood bowling to Herbert Sutcliffe, or for that matter, the Leeds opening batsman who wore a white cap. I mean, I can honestly say, having watched Yorkshire cricket in the early 90s, been indoctrinated, not quite the same watching Ashley Metcalfe compared to Don Bradman. No disrespect to Mr. Metcalfe, of course. For those who are not familiar with that part of the world, Headingley is the home of the Leeds Cricket, Football and Athletic Club. They don't do running there, do they? A world-famous venue for both cricket and rugby league football. Brian Clough, who is a keen cricket fan but knows nothing of rugby league, tells a story of a board meeting held during his rather abbreviated stay at Ellen Road. 44 days, they made a book out of it and a film. His Leeds United side had suffered a defeat, and the tone of the meeting was rather subdued. Amidst all the gloom, the late Sam Bolton said, "There is one consolation, Leeds lost." Brian didn't understand that remark at first, and then, when it was explained, couldn't believe his ears. How on earth could a rugby result affect Leeds United? Well, I know, as Sam Bolton had known, that rugby league in Leeds, with its 3 professional teams, Leeds, Hunslet and Branley, were competitors in the same market for spectators. Not only that, a large proportion of the elementary schools played rugby league in that city, where, top of the page, like Swansea, football does not necessarily mean soccer. And it goes on and on and on about, stuff. Some couldn't make the transition to the rugby league, because this is those from Wales going north, of course. They were treated as lepers, never to be welcomed back, officially anyway, to the Union game. And it's a good job, things have changed since then. Many did make the grade and become stars. David Watkins, the Cardiff coach, was a star. That twinkle in both codes, and his stay at Salford was long and productive. I remember Lewis Jones at Leeds and Billy Boston at Wigan, and lots of others. Like soccer, rugby league hit its peak of popularity after the war, when everyone was trying hard to pick up the threads and get back to normality. In 1948-49, for instance, Wigan's average home gates were 22,535. Well, Leeds had to be satisfied with 16,000 even, 510. And crowds of the big games were unbelievable by today's standards. Huddersfield beat the touring Australians 22-3. in front of a crowd of 26,053. They don't attract that in a full season now, bit harsh. Then it goes on to talk about 1954. We know all about that. Big crowd at Odsal and all that. 7 billion people there. And it talks about Roger Millward here. Of course, at Hull Kingston Rovers. He was awarded the MBE in the recent New Year's Honours list. And while they facetiously say in Hull that means midget of the British Empire, it's of its time, they know it is well deserved and an honour that only outstanding sportsmen received, or, as it turns out, if you play one test match in the Ashes when England beat Australia. So it is Hull Kingston Rovers versus Cardiff. There's a brief history of the game here. George Hattel, Wembley, some other stuff happened. Ray French is here. A schoolmaster at Cowley School St Helens since 1965. He played rugby union for St Helens, Lancashire, the Barbarians, England, and rugby league for St Helens, Widnes, Lancashire, Great Britain, and the World Cup Tour of Australasia in 1968. And he's written some books, some of which I believe are available at Philip Howard Books in Leeds. Here's the words of Ray. A growing game, he says. I don't want to do it in his voice, because I can't do his voice. Though the league... No, I can't do his voice. Though the league game has remained firmly rooted in the northern counties since 1895, recent seasons have seen the game continue to expand nationally. Recession has seen all sports slumping attendance figures, and few can say that the last few years have been a period of growth for their game. Yet rugby league fans, I know this is hindsight, Cardiff, Carlisle, Fulham and now Mason and Kent have taken up the game to provide a more national outlook at the professional level. Oh well. At amateur level, with the formation of the Southern Leagues and the Welsh Leagues, coupled with the boom in universities and colleges, the game has firmly entrenched and making such rapid strides so as to be described by one prominent member of the Sports Council as the fastest growing team sport in the country. Long may it continue, and I hope that many of you watching this afternoon may be moved to play a part in its development. I'm assuming then that Mansfield must have come shortly after this, weren't they? Because they went 84 before I ended up in Nottingham. Here's the All Kingston Rovers squad. Great names of the past. Of course, I'm immediately drawn to Andy Kelly. Great man. Where is he on the photo? Andrew. There he is in the centre. Second row forward, 22, 6'4". I know he was tall, I didn't know how tall. Signed by Rovers for £60,000 when Trinity were relegated. Bloody hell. That's a lot of money, isn't it? Who would you get for 60,000 these days? Here's Cardiff with their squad. Of course, best named player, Arthur Daly, formerly of Oldham, Huyton and Lee before coming to Nottingham Park last season. A skillful competitor, able to bring out the best to those around him. I wonder what it's like having a name where for most of your life it's just normal, right? And then suddenly there's some fellow on the telly with your name. What's that all about? So there's the Cardiff squad. Oh, league lines, what's some news here? A mini Fijian invasion of the early 60s turned out to be a damp squib. Rochdale Hornets were the chief recruiter and signed on 6 players. The most effective was Joe Leilua, a powerful winger who could have been a good one if he'd turned pro earlier and enjoyed some hard discipline. So there you go. I don't know why we're talking about Fijians, but there you go. Huddersfield signed him as well. Italy has toyed with the game, and a couple of players have sampled rugby league football in England. Probably the best known was Tony Rossi, a front row with Wigan. Then they talk about Ireland, New Zealand, France, that existed, and some other stuff. Australia, apparently some Australians have come over here. Cup comments. It's just stuff about the Challenge Cup. In 1933, Len Bowkett led Huddersfield to victory over Warrington. He kicked 6 goals, a record which stood for many years as the top goal kicker at Wembley. Billy Horn of Bower equalised it, or equalled it even, in 1955. And in 1960, Neil Fox surpassed this in a 38-5 thrashing of Hull. Not on the thing though, is he? Not on the thing. Salford played at Wembley in successive seasons in 1938 and 1939. Their manager, Lansby Todd, was a New Zealander who later died in a car crash. The trophy awarded to the outstanding player at Wembley is named after him. Billy Stott, the Wakefield captain, was the first winner in 1946. Bit of stuff about Bradford, beating Leeds. Bradford's great days in the early days. Hull in 1960 contained the only Tongan to play at Wembley. Obviously that's changed now, hasn't it? The first fullback to cross for a try at Wembley was Pat Quinn in 1957. Amateur teams in the Cup have been on the wrong end of some tall scoring. Flimby and Fothergill from Cumberland were thrashed 116-0. On that occasion, Jim Sullivan kicked 22 goals. Huddersfield trounced Swinton Park 119-2. And on the only occasion when the boot has been on the other foot was when Beverley defeated Ebervale 7-2. Don't know when that was. Featherstone Rovers, sensational winners of the Challenge Cup this season, also created a sensation in 1952 when winning their way to Wembley. They were reported to train on rabbit pie. Rovers have made their mark with 4 Wembley appearances since those days, winning on 3 occasions, and they won the 1895, of course, which was after this. This is a remarkable feat for a village with a population of 14,000, where rugby footballers seem to sprout out of the ground. From this area came England and Leicester Tigers rugby union halfback Les Cusworth, a native of Normanton. Now he's Normanton Fev, because I would say it's Cass. Well, I'd say it's Wakefield really, but all-rounders. People who've played a couple of sports. Rugby league and cricket seem to go hand in hand, at least in Yorkshire, where many grounds accommodate both games. Well, not anymore, I guess. Headingley. Fartown, no. Keighley's Lock Home Lane, did I play any cricket there? Don't know. I've been there for a while. Thrum Hall at Halifax and Batley's Mount Pleasant as housed both games, and Parkside at Hunslet. Jimmy Binks, the old Yorkshire wicketkeeper, played amateur rugby league in Hull until the County Cricket Club stopped him. Sounds about right. And a one-time Yorkshire second 11 fast bowler, George Waits, played amateur rugby league until he got himself suspended. He signed die. It's a great phrase, isn't it? Other sports are attractive rugby league players. Bob McMaster, heavyweight prop forward for Leeds in the late 40s, indulged in wrestling. Brackets, if that can be called a sport, he certainly can. While snooker's Eddie Charlton and tournament golf pro Bill Shanklin both played rugby league in Australia. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of Eddie Charlton playing rugby league. Who did he play for? What is rather surprising, though, is the high incidence of soccer players who've turned up to rugby league and vice versa during the past dozen seasons. The most notable being Stuart Wright, who left Chester FC to sign for Wigan. He later transferred to Winner for £11,000 and went on to play for Lancashire and Great Britain. He became famous for his 75-yard try at Wembley. Bradford Norland's utility player Gary Hale was an apprentice goalkeeper with Burnley. He joined Wakefield Trinity and still has a safe pair of hands, although he is now something of a ball distributor. Of course, now you've got a myriad of players in the women's game. I mean, not just play rugby league and rugby union, but have played cricket and football and this and that and so on and so forth. It's obviously less common in the professional era what we live for the men. There may be more instances of which we would like to hear. Get in touch if you want. I mean, I won't bother with these. Fred Lindop's the referee. There he is. The teams printed in black on red. I mean, that's great, isn't it? Hull KR versus Cardiff. If you were at this game, what did it finish? 22nd of May 1983, Hull Kingston Rovers versus Cardiff City at the City Ground in Nottingham.